Welcome to another episode of the Meal Prep Monday podcast. I'm your host and founder of Prep Dish, Allison Schaaf. Today, I'm talking about paper planners, the ones I've used over the years, and which one I am using and loving in 2024. Before we get into the episode, I wanted to read a customer post from our Facebook group. So this was from Liz, and she said, I just wanted to share our gratitude. We started using Prep Dish around September, and it has reduced our monthly grocery bill by $200 to $300, as well as our takeout expenses by $100. Well worth the price for the yearly membership already. Wow, thanks, Liz. So I'm glad that she actually put numbers to that. I love hearing that she's saved so much on her grocery bill and then also, reduced the amount that she spends on takeout. That's awesome. So if you would like to try Prep Dish, we have a 2-week free trial at prepdish.com/MPM. And I always say that's the best way to just try it out. And if you are tracking your finances closely, like it sounds like Liz does, I'd love to hear from you if you see an impact on that. That's really great. Okay, so for planning, if you listened last week, I did an interview with Sarah Hart-Unger. She actually has a podcast, Best Laid Plans. So if you're into this kind of episode or podcast, I would definitely check that out. She reviews planners all the time on that podcast. And the episode from last week, we talk more about kind of her perspective and approach to planning. So check out that episode. I thought it'd be fun today to just go through. I made a list of the planners that I've used over the last kind of 6-ish years, and then the one that I'm using right now. But before I review all of those, I guess just kind of a look at the way I handle planning. For the past several years, I really do some sort of combination of like having things on, the computer, like a calendar, but then also always having some sort of paper planner where I can write things down. Even if they're being tracked somewhere online, they're still being written down. I just think day to day, there's something about putting pen to paper for me that's really helpful and it's good to look at. I like to check things off a list. One thing I've really loved over the past few years, and I've noticed most planners now include this, is having that like daily 3. For me, I feel like it's good to put up, the start of the day or the night before, whenever I'm doing it, but like, hey, here are the top 3 things like have to be done today. And honestly, some days, especially right now, having a newborn, it's maybe I don't have 3 things. It's like, hey, here's the one thing that has to get done today. So then anytime I go back and review kind of my day, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the thing that has to be done. So just having that really written out and clear of like my number 1 for the day is super helpful. So I think all of these that I'm going to talk about have that, or at least my version of the planner did. And there's other things that I look for. We'll get into that as we go through this. But yeah, day to day, like I'm usually doing with my paper planner, like the week. Ideally, I'm doing it on the weekend. If I can find time, like Sunday afternoon, I will look at the week in advance and kind of map it out. Other times it's like Monday morning I'm doing it, but then, and then day to day I'm opening it first thing in the morning and then kind of going through like, for example, today, like my thing that I knew as soon as I had childcare covered, I knew I was going to jump in and record these episodes. And that was kind of my number 1 on my list for the daily task. Okay. So planners that I have used over the past several years. So the first one is Day Designer, and I've used this at least twice, if not 3 different times. I think I've had 3 different versions of theirs. It's been a few years, so I'm not exactly sure which one. I know that the one I preferred is just size-wise, like practically speaking, I prefer a little bit smaller because I do like to be able to carry it around with me when I'm traveling on a plane. And some of them, if they're too bulky and heavy, I still do it, but I wish they were smaller. So sometimes I practically and like that the size is a little smaller. So I remember with the Day Designer, I liked having the slightly smaller size. And yeah, I used it for a few years. I really liked it. But then I switched to something, and I had to look up to see if they still carry them, but they do. It's called the Sol Planner, SOL. And I remember I got this one the year that Ivan was born. So that would have been 5 years ago. And speaking of size, like it's a much bigger size. At least when I bought them, I think they only had one size. I loved it. And it was great for having a newborn because I had to write down so much because you know how it goes. Like you're if you don't write it down, it's like it's forgotten, at least for me, especially in the baby phase. So I liked having the big size. I wasn't traveling as much. I could write everything down. And I don't remember a lot of the little features, but I remember just really liking that one. And you might kind of be wondering, I'll pause here. If I'm liking all of these planners, why am I constantly switching? So that is a good question. And for me, because I really love trying out the new planners, I kind of look forward to the next year switching it up a little bit. And, like you've seen, like the Day Designer I did stick with for a few years, but then it's like there's so many cool planners out there these days that I just can't resist trying out something new. And I think it makes a new year and planning just feel a little more fun to me. The fact that I get to try out a new one and see how it goes. So anyway, I did a few years of the Day Designer and then I did the Soul Planner. The next one that I did was the Full Focus Planner. And this was a year when I was doing a lot more work. When I did that one, I did like daily pages. Like each day had its own, I think 2 pages actually. And that was great because I was doing more like longer work hours and had kind of more to fill the pages and like notes from calls and such. I did over time though start to feel like I was doing a lot of like beyond the top 3 things, like my other tasks. I felt like I would just kind of end up copying them over day after day and rewriting lists, which is pretty inefficient. So while I enjoyed it, it was not like over time, it just felt like I don't like the daily pages. And I don't know if they have a weekly option or not, but that over time didn't really work for me. It's a quarterly planner. So each quarter you're needing to replace it. And the other caveat I will say is when I canceled, because you're on like a subscription, and when I canceled, first they sent me another one and I ended up just, paying for that. And I canceled again. And then they stopped sending them to me, but they still kept charging me. I think I had to cancel 2 or 3 times. And they really did just sort of mess up in terms of charging me. And so I'm glad I noticed that, but that was a little irritating. And, that's been a few years ago. So maybe they've fixed that issue. But overall, there were some things about that Full Focus Planner I really liked. And I think there were like some planning pages and project planning pages that I really enjoyed as well. Interestingly, last year I'd ordered the planner I'm using this year, the Self Planner, but it wasn't going to come in time. It ended up getting back ordered and it wasn't going to arrive until February. So last minute I had to scramble, and I'd heard about golden coil planners and ended up using a golden coil planner. One thing I liked about the golden coil is it's very beautiful. Like you can choose from a lot of different covers. And I do enjoy having just a beautiful planner. And I ended up so we've been going through a bathroom renovation, which I think I've mentioned on here. And the floor is terrazzo. And so I wanted to do a terrazzo cover just to kind of help me get excited about my new bathroom that was not in process and like knowing that someday I would be able to take a bath again. So that was a fun thing about the golden coil. This feature to me is like a plus and a minus, and that is that it's highly customizable, which is great if you know what you're looking for. But even if you know what you're looking for, to me, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. Like there's sometimes a few small tweaks that I'm okay making to a planner, but you have to go through several steps of like designing your ideal planner. I could see if you use it every year over time, it would get really good because you could each year just kind of make small tweaks to what you did the year before. So I really liked being able to add in the pages I needed. I had a really cool setup of like a calendar, and it was a weekly, like all of my tasks for the week. And then on the calendar, I could kind of put my daily top 3. So I kind of, even though it was so customizable, I still kind of made it into what worked best for me. But it was sort of this week at a glance, which I found for the last few years, really the week at the glance is the best for me. And then some sort of like daily writing out your top 3 priorities, but being able to still see the whole week. So that way you could also have tasks that are for the week that you're not having to transfer day to day, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed the golden coil, but have been looking forward to 2024 since I had picked out this planner over a year ago. My friend Jamie, actually, I'd asked her because I knew she was really into having a paper planner and all that. And so back in the fall of 22, I'd asked her, I said, Jamie, what planner do you like? And she showed me her Self Planner. And she's like, I think you would really like this one. So that's what I've been using for the past month. And I really love it. So it has, like I said, the weekly The week to week I like better than some of the others. And part of it has the day set up so you can write your schedule for the day, your top 3 priorities. But then on the left-hand side, you can kind of have a running checklist. And then the other thing they've added is if you turn over that page, there's 2 pages where you can write out just kind of notes for the week. And I like having a section for notes for the week that you can reference, and it's not daily. So you don't have to go back and be like, when did I have that call? Or where did I take that note? It's like, here's the notes from that week. And I'm finding there's just a lot less of like having to transfer things over time because they're all kind of there and I can get things done and then start a fresh week. So the self planner, by the way, is one. From what I've seen, there's kind of just here's the option and you buy it. There's not like customization or anything like that. It is not dated though. So you add in the dates so you can start whenever. But they have a month in review or monthly reflection questions. And I really like those questions. I've done, 1 month of them, but those were kind of nice. And I'm looking forward to having a monthly cadence of doing that. They do have the project plans up front, which I've found a lot of them, like the Golden Coil. I also had some project plans up front, like bigger projects I'm working on and how to track those. So I always like having those at the front of the planner, the in section for, more notes. So I've used that as well. So yeah, right now, really loving the self planner. It's been a fun change. It's a smaller size. So it's the same size as the Full Focus, which is nice. It's a lot more portable. It's a 6-month planner. And one drawback though, with the self planner is out of all of the ones I've used, the self planner is the most masculine of all of them. The one I have right now is just black. I did see they have other colors, but it's not like these beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, really feminine covers like, the Golden Coil or even the Full Focus planner. Like they had a version that you could get that had, like a deep plum purple or just some really pretty colors. And the inside cover had these really nice patterns. So they were really beautifully designed. So if there is one drawback to the self planner is it's a little more masculine and a little, plain black is fine. But some of my others have just been, even with the day designer, you can pick out several different cover options and they always have some really beautiful designs. So that's the one drawback there. But practically speaking and actually getting work done and keeping tabs on all my tasks, I've really enjoyed that. So those are the paper planners I've used over the past several years. Would love to hear from all of you. If you have one that I didn't mention, let me know. Maybe that'll be my planner for 2025. And if you enjoyed this episode, a reminder to leave a rating and review. They help other people to find our podcast. Or if you know someone else that would love to hear this episode, please share it. I always, appreciate that as well. Another reminder though, if you have not tried out the Prep Dish meal plans, we do have that free trial set up for you at prepdish.com/mpm. If you are looking to eat healthy, tasty meals, but have it be easy, have it be where you're not thinking about it at dinner time, let us help. We've already done the heavy lifting. We've created the grocery list. We tell you exactly what to do to get dinner on the table. So go to prepdish.com/mpm to try those out. And that's all I have this week. We are doing another episode next week on planning as well. I think it's going to be more like digital planning or calendaring. And that is all I have for this week. We'll be back again next Monday.